Good evening and happy Sunday to you all. This is the Big Chonis coming at you live, 8 p.m. East Coast, United States, 4/7/2019. Good evening, my friends. Hello, CKC Random Socks, Earl Suleman, SS Swartz 88. What's up, Floyd? Hello, Joe Friedenberg. Hello, Jay Stroud, my old friend. Hello, Paul L. Hello, Mayan Balali. Hello, Bitcoin Steve. Hello, Hugo. Hello, Dad and Joe 5. Hello, Derek Carey. Good evening, my friends. Hello, Carlos Fernandez, and thank you for joining me. Another exciting adventure here of Adventures in Bitcoin with your friend Big Chonis. I got the daily chart up. This channel I've been watching develop over the past couple days because I find it notable of several touches of middle channel support resistance, lower channel support, upper channel resistance. We closed under. This is the daily here, so we closed actually under our upper channel resistance, but we have to acknowledge we did broke out of the daily intraday 52.79, put in a higher high than yesterday's candle, and we actually opened our day above this. So far this has been bull flagging. Frankly, I want to keep this pennant, but I also want to. Where are my indicators? I want to keep this flag here, but I also want to acknowledge whether you want to call. I mean, there's so many things happening here. There's a pennant, that's also being in play here. And we do have this descending channel, which is still valid. Remember, this is the daily closes here. So even though we're outside of intraday, we were outside of intraday yesterday before closing within the boundaries of it. But we also have not just the descending, channel here, but also the ascending channel of closing candle support and resistance here. On our daily here. So lots of different things happening here. All three of these patterns, more or less are bullish. I mean, we're looking at this uptick in the price action here. We're looking at, it's declining volume, but I really can't count these particular candles here as the norm. If anything, you could argue that this was the norm. And now we're putting in, past this explosion, we're putting in, 3-4 days here of higher than average bullish price action, until proven otherwise. So this is still, bullish volume until proven otherwise in the price action here. Now, a couple things we have to know. Remember, this candle happened Sunday, Monday? So we had two touches find support 47.91 area, and that is a notable area of support. So we have our crazy patterns here, which is kind of funny now that I look at all three of these overlapped. But let's just define some clear support and resistances. Our current support is still resistance. It's still day 2 of our bullish break, and our near-term support is what happened on day 3, 4785, and listens the distance between us, right? The distance between support and resistance for Bitcoin is an 11% move. An 11% move, especially if you're leveraged, is some decent cheddar right there, right? No big cheds included. But what we're talking about here is a range we have now post rocket ship candles, okay, on volume, and how after this area of the 47s was back tested as support, we were able to range higher. Now let's go back in time here, and the only other area where we see on the daily the littlest bit area of support after this insane bearish candle we had on November 19th, where Bitcoin went from 55 all the way down to 46, almost 1,000-point move. It found support right around the $4,700 area. And therefore, we are finding what was very strong resistance, okay? And we're talking about this as the bottom part here, has now been tested as support twice on these dailies, and not only has held, but has actually induced a bounce several days later. Now, that's our low range support. Okay, we see where it's happened. We see why it's happening. We all see that. Now we have to focus on the upper range, and the upper range of 5,300 corresponds with just the tips of these lower areas where we had wicked out intraday and found support twice between 52.87, 51.84, and resistance to just above $5,400. Okay, so there's like $100 here of wick buying support that very quickly be turned into resistance on this candle. Now, it can be argued that this zone, and actually let's expand this zone, even though we've just found resistance in these wicks here, you know, this zone here, okay, can take us as high as the upper wicks of said zone, which is just a hair under $5,700. And you can probably assume if we get up there, we'd probably see some sort of a little FOMO wick that could probably take us just a little bit higher, right? To put in slightly a higher low there, really freaking the market out there. So for this to happen, for this upper area to be tested, for Bitcoin to test it, okay, we need to break 53.48. The bulls need to break that. Okay. Now, for now, there's very little, honestly, to say that they can't. Looking at just a clear picture of the chart itself, we just pull out the indicators, right? Okay. Let's even pull out the volume here, right? Just keep it very clean as a chart here. Okay. We fell. We scooped the range, scooped the low threes. We came back down. We scooped a higher low of the low to mid threes. And then since that higher low was put in place, we have been advancing upward, and then we have accelerated our advance into that. Now, there are resistances, okay? Horizontal resistances. Okay, we have our bull channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every time we hit resistance on this plane, this ascending plane here. I want to make this a different color than red, purple. Okay, and once again we hit it as our local top. So this line is very important. Right? Let's get rid of that for a second. Let's move that over there. Remember, the upper range here, okay, from where we are currently, you know, is again another 10%. So we're talking about, can Bitcoin go another 10%, right? Without breaking the 47.85 area. Okay? Bitcoin can retest these lower areas here many times if it wants to. But as long as it holds, okay, this upper range can be achieved. If this area breaks, then just as fast as we rose through here, we then have to look to back here and find the area below the current support as our next area of that support. And that's really 45, to $4,400 range. Because there's nothing here in this candle. And potentially as low back to 4,200, which tests our bottom neckline. Okay, we are very bullish, but we can't forget this lower area of neckline. Let's make this yellow, okay, which really is our overall pattern support, right? If this is a bottoming triangle, a bottoming ascending triangle, okay, we broke through it. We're testing these key areas here. We broke through near-term horizontals. Right, we broke through our this line here, this linear line on linear, and we also broke through it on logarithmic. Now, I want to keep the log line up. Let's get rid of that for just a moment here. Okay, because listen, notable lines of resistance that are broken do get back tested, right? Thusly, and really this line here puts on a whole different attitude, doesn't it? If you log that out as well, and that's kind of our really bullish area up there as well. But the point is that we have an area that we could be back testing as support that could coincide with our diagonal descending line of resistance, which is now clearly support and been support for several days here. So these are our horizontals and verticals in the near term. These are our supports on the down, resistances on the up. Bitcoin has been in a range of about 10% for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days here. Okay, this is all the data near term that the range itself has to work with. We know from a chart perspective where the next area of resistance can be, around the 56 to as high as just a hair under $5,700. Maybe with a wick. Maybe that corresponds with this rising area of resistance. Maybe we got to go a back test first, though, to the line to then break us above there. And then there's the whole, what's the count, right? I've seen so many counts on Twitter, so many counts on YouTube about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are we 4 or 5? This and that. So let's go over a few counts. I'll admit I'm not an Elliottian, but I want to clear the board here. Before I do this, though, I really should take a picture of this because this is some Jackson Pollock craziness here. Let's do that. Didn't need to see that. Okay, so let's go back here to Bitcoin. Let's clear the board. Thank you very much. And let's talk about these counts here, okay? So there's bigger counts, and then within the counts, there could be smaller counts, okay? So are we still in this expansive wave 3? Now, this current move here, clearly has the dynamics of a impulsive wave 3. Okay, compared to the wave 1, and we'll look at those ratios in a moment here. We also have to note that the distance from 1 to 2 here was quite long. I mean, we're talking, talking Christmas Eve to a week before Valentine's Day there. So, about a month and almost a month and a half there of a wave 2, which means our wave 4, I actually feel will be a lot shorter in time duration. That was almost 6 weeks. This one could be 2 or 3 weeks. Any kind of a pullback there, a pullback that we really haven't had yet. And then if we find that pullback, find that support, where does our fifth wave potentially take us? So this is currently the larger spectrum count here. Now let's focus on where wave 3, this guy here, could potentially end up. It's possible that we've already hit it, right? It's possible we've gone as far as we can on our wave here. We're in some sort of a ABC here correction, or we're just starting our beginning wave down of our correction of our 4, or we're actually got a couple more $100 here of our 3 to go. So how do we figure this out? Well, let's look at some extensions of our initial impulsive wave here, going back to our support on our current wave 2 area. Now, I only have this extension up to the 1786 here, but if you notice, we are literally right at the 1786 extension, which means that this impulsive move here of wave 3 has gone exactly this distance plus 0.786 more times the length here, or almost, if you can argue, just a little under 2 times this initial wave 1 here. So there is precedent to say, okay, we've already done our extension here. Now our wave 4, let's just play this hypothesis for a moment here. Now for wave 4, okay, what do we know? We know that we have to keep wave 4 above wave 1. And since wave 1 is right around $4,200 here, right? In theory, we could come as all the way down as $4,200. All right, but let's be a little more conservative here. Let's say Bitcoin, I don't know, somewhere between the 1 and the 236 here, okay, of this extension. Now, here's what we're talking about here. When we start to figure out 4, okay, and we'll know 4 is in place because I think the 4 wave it will take at least a week. So it's going to take some time, I believe, for the 4 wave to be agreed that we're in that 4 wave where we basically have found strong resistance where we currently are, maybe a little bit higher, but we're clearly basically losing and closing below 5K. That's really the big issue here. Until Bitcoin closes below 5K, the bulls have control at this point. Okay, we're several days past the 5K area of support. So if we lose 5K, that would clearly be the first time on a daily close, especially on like a 12-hour close too. We talk about higher time frames there. Okay, the pullback of 4, okay, needs to be basically calculated by the pullback of the wave 3 extension here. And that can be found, again, we got to be higher than 1, but let's say it's a good 50%, something, that'd be a pretty solid pullback there, but something between $3,400 to $3,500, okay? Maybe it's, because it'd probably go lower than this. I think it'd go lower than this. Something in this area here, okay? Again, we're still putting in a higher low. We're still keeping, this diagonal here on the down end, right? So a lot of that could correspond here, and again, it could happen quicker. We could be talking, into the mid-April here. This could be a 4th finding that support, and then the 5 here, because 3 is hit, that 1618 there. We'd be looking at the 5th wave here, potentially closing out, best case 1-to-1 at $6,400. Now notice the 1-to-1 extension of wave 3 is literally right before we fell off the cliff here of the $6,300 here. Okay, this was the last hurrah. You got off the boat right here, or you were sinking down here. Okay, so this is a valid wave progression, bullish here, of what could basically take us into June. I don't know the time horizon here because these could happen quicker than not, but this could be a scenario for the next couple months here. Ranging up here, coming back a little bit, hovering the 4s for a little bit, taking one more push and retesting to see how strong 6K was. Remember, this was support turn resistance. Get back up there. That's scenario. That's definitely a very clean, bullish, potentially bullish scenario there. So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Now, let's say that this is not some crazy impulsive wave here, okay, bullish as it is, but more some sort of just corrective pattern, some sort of just straightforward ABC corrective pattern, in which we're about to go down to some sort of corrective, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave down here as we go to the summer. But basically, this would be the alternative, potentially bearish scenario here, where this corrective move here can't get higher. We're meaning that basically there's no buyers above C wave here, okay? And we trickle down. We got a couple rallies, some nice bounces, right? And we really fall down, test these areas here. We take another rally here, maybe a longer 4. And then 5 takes us back down to some sort of a double bottoming, where then maybe we put in our higher low. That's our bearish scenario. Honestly, what defeats this one here, what breaks this apart, is to really get higher than where we are now, because this extension of the one, this would basically put me at the limits of this C wave. This was even at the limits itself. So that bearish scenario, we do have to keep in mind here, and this can still basically play out with that firm rejection here of this area, and frankly a lack of a hold on the next pullback to bring us that next step higher there. in the move. So that's kind of my thoughts on the two scenarios we're seeing here. And as we go into next week, because we are taking our time here in this move, we have to ask ourselves, what are the signals that are going to tell us that this is running sour, this is running dry, that potentially we're about to experience more of a larger corrective pattern here. And the thing that could just be a possibility, there we go. The thing could really just be a possibility there is I want to look at some of our indicators. There goes my laptop. I want to look at some of my indicators here. Oh, you son of a bitch. There we go. And try and figure out, where we are here. 1 second here, guys. I just dropped my entire thing. So let's look at some indicators here. Okay, so we're on the daily chart here. Let's kind of just make a quick wrap here and see where we actually closed out on some of our... There we go. That's all I wanted to do. Check the sound. RSI, a very strong 87 here. We are as high as we've been pretty much since December 17, which is where our 20K top off was. So we are back to these areas again, and that's pretty extraordinary here. Daily stochastics here did have that bullish curve again up there, so still holding a bullish range here as we have started a new day of Bitcoin price action. I want to focus on a couple more things here. This is really the thing that I'm looking for, kind of that first shakeout. And this is our OBV oscillator, day 50 of a bullish oscillator here. When this begins to break down, we're going to see the OBV begin to fall. And then OBV falling, which I think is this, will definitely be signaling the failure of this bullish divergence here. But this thing is still cranking. I mean, look where we are now in the OBV. And we have now broken through all these resistance levels here, November, here, September, here, earlier September, and right back to our July 18 OBV in the Bitcoin move here. And this is just still extremely strong. And until we lose this, until we lose, I'd say, this area of support, right? Resistance, come back, break through it. Until we lose this zone of support here, this is a very bullish setup, until really proven otherwise. Okay, 153 of my closest friends tonight joining me, only 22 thumbs up. Guys, remember to hit that thumbs up button as we take a look here at our true dollar volume, total dollar volume. And again, it's corresponding with our volume profile itself the past several days here. There's money flowing the F into Bitcoin still, not just the back tests, but the continuation of strong money flow has not waned, as we're 5 days past here. Fuddy Havers, RJ Jamil, Brian C., Anthony Boyd Graphics. Hello, Jane. Good to have you here. Laurent Dieti. Steve, Bitcoin Steve. I'll definitely check out the TDs there. Constance A. Hacks Z. Libyan Life. Brandon Kolala. AD, hello, Jimmy Queck. Thank you, sir. Wishing you well is great. What's up, Crash? Khalil LaRosa, thank you, sir. AD, Patrick Dennis, much appreciated, guys. 154 of you guys watching me tonight. Remember to hit the thumbs up. Remember to hit the follow button. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Remember to follow me on Twitter. Guys, have a chance. Check out Big Chonis, chonistrading.com. About my personalized mentoring. If you're new to trading, if you're new to cryptocurrencies, the way that I can do a one-on-one with you via Skype. You can see my screen. We can talk about trading techniques, basic TA, how to get into crypto, where to begin, how to set a trading style, how to find your own trading style. Please feel free to reach out to me, bigchonis@gmail.com, or DM me on Twitter. Checking back in here on Bitcoin's price action, starting the day here, only 24 minutes into the day. Still ranging higher. Let's get into a tight 5-minute chart here, as we just see as we start the new day in Bitcoin here. I'm going to pull back my volume once again so we can see what kind of money flow we get going in here. Okay, look at since we kind of ended the day and started the new day here, volume is still pretty strong here. All right, so let's get back into a couple on the higher time frames here. Remember, we're on the weekly chart here. Close out a new week of Bitcoin. What a tremendous week we closed at. The teeny tiny wick here, you know, a little more than $100 wick here. Okay, it's very hard to find many things bearish about this candle. Okay, we closed above upper Bollinger for the first time since our 20K breakout. We are finding our middle Bollinger rising up for the first time in the bear market, right? 39.19 now active support. Now, our Bollingers are expanding, and because of that, we're drifting lower in our lower Bollinger. This has to do with the volatility move in this. It takes several weeks to play out. Bitcoin Steer reminded me about the TDs, so we've started a candle past a perfected TD9 here on our weekly. We'll be talking about this on several shows here. We're looking at the 3-day as TradingView calculates. Oh, maybe I just closed it out. That's why. We're still on our second 3-day after as well, a perfected 9. Haven't seen a perfected 9 on the weekly, on the 3-day. Not on the daily, but darn close, but not really perfected. Lower time frames, I'm sure are just mixed signals here and mid through it. Yeah, so not much there. But listen, we are late into a T count. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean it's a trend changer, okay? But normally when we hit a 9, especially on high time frames, we do look for that 1 to 4 candle correction, the 1 to 4 candle consolidation period, which means on the weekly it should take several weeks. On the 3-day it should take 12 days or so of a consolidation before the next trend move can be delivered. Now, because we closed the week out so strong, it's hard for me to believe that we're not going to at least advance at some point into this week. Okay, there's enough eyeballs and there's clearly enough money flow still flowing into Bitcoin, still flowing into this market here. Okay, that's hard for me to believe that now we've been above 5K here for several days. We closed our first weekly candle above 5K since November 12th. That this can, at least into this week, bring us some continuation. But let's keep in mind a couple things here. Okay, just as we've been bearish and been watching how the indicators and how the price action was so far below our moving averages, we're seeing an inverse here, because of our bullishness. So we're seeing our moving averages are now acting as supports, where they're actually used to act as resistances. So again, the weekly EMA 12, EMA 26 support. Okay, 4,500. Now this is an area here where I expect to backtest at some point. And here's the key. We are up to, before I say, yeah. So our weekly is our highest time frame where my EMA 12, EMA 26 have yet to bullishly cross. And this will be a challenge because whenever we attempt a bull cross, and now that I'm on the highest time frame of the weekly going out that far, I actually expect this to get rejected on the initial attempt to cross bullishly. Now, this also sets us up for at least another week or two into April for this to potentially play out. And for this to play out, we have to keep our momentum going and maintaining above 5K. But I note how high the price action is above our moving averages. Now, note similarly, okay, the distance between our moving averages and how low the price action actually got, how bearishly spread, okay, these indicators actually were here. And now think about it in the inverse. If we get a spread like this, on the negative, Can we get a spread like that on the positive, where then our trailer, our leading indicator becomes up here above our trailer to a space like this? Do we do an inverse of the bullishness as we did the inverse of the bearishness? These are the things we have to keep note of on these higher time frames, because we are so above our supports here. You know, we're a trapeze artist and we're way above the net right now. And these nets are important because they provide stability and they provide continuation here. Now our daily moving averages are just super strong here. And look at this. We had a chance here to break. We didn't. Kept it strong, kept it strong, kept it strong, kept it strong. Okay, no bear crosses. There's our expansion. We're spreading out here. First support still, again, 47.64. It will, I guarantee you, Bitcoin will hit 47 something at some point. Okay, I just can't say if it's going to go up a couple $100 more before it does come back down here. But it will come back down here and it will test these key supports. But as you can see, we're still above it on the 12-hour. We're still above our leading indicator on the 12-hour. Only on the 6-hour are we actually seeing that support be tested. And we got to test it once. We got to test it twice. And both of those times, the price action held. And this was really the thing where if you're in a long and you're not going to get suckered out, you can wait for these closing candles until we break at least the EMA 12. Okay, the bulls still have that control. And it's funny, on the 4-hour, kind of the same thing. Now, we did lose it here, but it took us just one candle to get back into it. Okay, and then we almost lost it here. But again, because we keep closing above our nearest term EMA supports on as low down as the 4-hour, you know, the bulls are just showing the relentlessness here. Now, again, our volume here, it's not terrible. It's not spectacular. You know, these were crazy big volume bars. Again, this is just the 4-hour, but these are huge volume bars comparatively here. Okay, we've definitely lost a lot of that, mostly because this is what was that kind of that shock to the market. Money came in, algos were blasting around. We've had some time here. We have a couple of these wick outs. Clear out the longs, clear out the shorts, or clear out the shorts, clear out the longs. Did that a few times here, okay? But the overall trend, still holds very bullish really until proven otherwise. Now, personally for me, this early into the day to start, as we are strong, is always suspect in the sense that I feel we tend to do test lower points in the day, set up some sort of a lower wick. There's, I guess you could say, other than this, well, really, this guy here and this guy here, really just not putting in those lower wicks there still, though. I mean, we've had a couple of these spinning tops, but these are just two really strong bullish candles. This guy on the 5th and the one we just put in yesterday. Just these wicks are not that strong on the upper side here. And we've tested our supports here on the lower side here so many times. 5K, for now seems very strong, until it gets tested there. Now, a couple other indicators I want to go over here. This is just unprecedented. This is the right TDI here. Talk about how the red rarely gets very much above our upper Bollinger. Okay, just a hair there, just a hair there, just a hair there, just a hair there, not yet there. Road up here, right? Just a hair. Have we ever seen our red, really ripping above our upper BB like we're seeing now? This is unprecedented bullish move here. This indicator is nuts. Now, granted, I'll give it a slight difference to the fact that the Bollingers are not super wide. Let's put it, they're not super wide. But this is just, to me, this is screaming like this kind of overboughtness, because we don't normally see this in this indicator. And I'll go back here to bullish times, right? Where even when we're Bitcoin bullishness, we don't see it this strong. But when we do see it this strong, this shoot up, okay, we do have the volatility and we do have the pullback. So don't get complacent here, okay? The bulls have been very strong. They continue to be very strong here. We still have our local resistances, and we still have a very tight area all around. Now, just from near term, short term, long term, okay, this is our pattern of supports, high range, low range. We find support at the 786. We find support at the 0.55. We retest it. We hold above the 0.55. We close above the 382, but we wick out on the 236. And now we're trying to get above the 236 to our inevitable goal, which is still our local top of 53.50. And after that, you put in a higher high, and then, as we discussed earlier in the show, we talk about our upper range here of resistances. Whew. All right, let's take a look at a couple other things. Look at ETH. You know, ETH has just been strong here. Okay, it's breaking through the neckline. Okay, it's been trailing Bitcoin's bullishness, but look, it's catching up. Okay, and again, I mean, this thing can definitely hit $200 if it keeps ranging here. We're right at the bottom of this little area here, but the fulcrum change here, the fulcrum point is just a hair above $200 here. And just very strong here. I gotta acknowledge Ethereum Classic. This chart's just hilarious to me. This is just the Coinbase chart. I know it has a longer history, but this thing debuted at Coinbase roughly $13-14. Spent September through December, falling down to $3, and then basically came. If you had bought all the way down, you could have just exited right there for basically that entry and all this profit here. I mean, just a rocket ship. You have to ask yourself, is this the trend here? Are we getting this kind of a free, clear air here in our price action because these are so ripe to pop because of this pent-up demand that's beginning to kind of swell the market here? Litecoin, listen, this thing has just been unbelievably strong here. $100 Litecoin, I'm still in awe of it. Near-term support resistances. I mean, we got to go all the way back now to let's see here. I mean, there's a lot of resistance here. Otherwise, like 110, right? 110 is really the next area. We found it as support 1, 2, 3 times and it broke. 110 is really the next area of major resistance, which is amazing. If Litecoin closed over $100, I would just wow. Just wow. Oh yeah, and I want to just acknowledge Bitcoin Cash again. There's this gap, this gap. I can't believe it's so close to being filled right now. I've been staring at this thing for months and asking myself, could it really get this high? Could it really get this high? And now it's like, there's the gap, 382. This was the fork gap. I mean, that's it right there. After this gap gets filled, and we're not that far off it, are we, right? I mean, well, what's left? Like, this is the range. Maybe it could hit 400. It could. But that's the back test. All this here, we're just back testing. It was amazing back test, talking about 100% moves here. But remember, we fell so crazy low here. Okay? So let's go back to Bitcoin here. Talking a lot here. Whew, winding down. Guys, remember, give me a thumbs up. 160-70 guys stuck with me here for the past 41 minutes. On this fine Sunday evening. Yeah, Tom Brady is the best quarterback ever. My man. Trower Barton, Wayne Lewing, Carlos Rios, Gordon X, Crypto Future, PWN Tech. Yeah, listen here. I mean, we're just seeing just continuation here. The market's strong. I mean, you can't, you can't buck this trend right now. ETH is pumping. Okay, early in the day here still. Remember, this is the first hour of the day. Okay. We might test these resistances. If we test these early in the day here, we'll see what kind of wick we put in, what kind of resistance here. But the volume is strong. Okay. That's Bitcoin total. $24-hour volume has been very strong. Let's go back to Bitcoin here. Let's go tight range. Okay, pumping again. Okay, remember, still we got our local high. Let's draw a line right there. Okay, we were here 4 days ago, and we're only like less than $100 away from it right now. And we might be at a point now, you could argue that maybe altcoins, like the bigger altcoins, can, continue to bring up the market in this way. You might see that bullish divergence continue, ETH, Litecoin, Cash, in an effort to kind of continue and to propel Bitcoin higher. A couple things here. So let's go to the Bitcoin CME futures. All these gaps here, 43.91 filled. That was it. Those were filled in the sixes, right? So we opened the day with a gap up, which is very strong. So we have a little gap here down to 5K, like 50 to 80 here. This is our only gap here we have on the chart, on the 4 hour at least. The 4 hour. Remember, there's your guy down here at 31.38. That's only on your 1 hour. But in the 4 hour, it's not there. There was one here, and we know how that got filled there. So very strong here, but we got a little gap, a couple $100 gap here on the open of our CME futures. It's open about an hour ago. All right, fellas, I am fading. I will leave you with these final thoughts here. As I said before, we're so early in the day. We're only an hour into our daily price action. I'm always skeptical on early day price action, especially this bullish. Okay, it draws in people. It sets a new candle. It allows a little more momentum continuation. But at the same time, we have to acknowledge on the highest of time frames here, how long can we keep this completely stopped off stoke in a way we have never seen before? RSI's broke that higher high here so fast. I mean, 41 to 57 in like 7 days. We've seen these, right? In the bull market, we saw these, but note these moves here: 53 to 90. I mean, that's just a crazy one there. 54 to 85. So 30 to 40. 60, 30. So this was 30 to almost 60. This is almost a 30-point move here. So we get into these moves here, 30, maybe 40 points in the RSI, right? Before we have a big correction. And we've done about 30, bottom here about 28. We're about 58. So yeah, we're about 30 points here moving this RSI. And historically speaking, when we do about a 30-point move, right, 40 to 70, we do tend to have the very swift pullback here. Not to say that all is lost, but we have to keep these in mind, especially these being on the highest of time frames here. Okay? And what happens if we do hit this resistance here again at 53, or can get us a little bit higher here? I mean, what happens if we achieve our near-term target? We can't be this extended. And keep in mind here that any pullback on this is where I would go to our higher term averages, okay, which is our MA50 on the weekly, still untested, coming down ever so slowly. That's a $5,500. If we hit this area here, if we hit 5555, I mean, this is kind of there's strong resistance here, like really strong resistance. This candle, this moving average, and then on the daily, are how far above we are on the MA200 support, $4,500, and has not risen up just yet. Okay, still very strong as we go into the day. You know, we're seeing continuation. We're seeing the money flow be very strong across the board here. You know, alts have running room. Okay, but we're getting closer. I mean, we're just getting a little closer every day if we keep this bullishness up, though, to these more meaningful resistances, these full runs of what was resistance, turn support, back testing. And we're just back testing here. We're just back testing these key areas. Okay, so just be smart. We've ripped so hard here. If you've been fortunate enough to ride this long, you know, congratulations. These are tremendous gains here. But, you know, always keep in the back of your mind just the TA of this, and that we're so high above these areas of support as we zoom out on higher time frames. I mean, to be this high, look at how high we are above our 12-hour supports. You know, look at our daily supports here. Look at our 2 days. Now our 3-day, okay, look at our MA100. We keep hitting our darn MA100 on our 3-day. We hit it here. We hit it here once again. We're right there. And there's a big gap between that guy and our 200 on the 3-day. And lastly, I'll just leave you with, only on this time frame here, Ichimoku cloud. Okay, back testing that cloud one more time, 3-day, finding Kaijin Sen support right there. Okay, if this closes inside, it can use this as support, which is mean 52 support for eventual range high in the 7s. But still, this is our highest time frame where we have yet to break through the cloud. Daily, we're above it and then some. Cloud support, again, $4,800 here. So we can go higher, but think about the lower. Think about the catch and see how that reacts there. High, we can go, you know, a few $100s higher. I mean, obviously we can go more than a few $100s higher. I just feel that at this point, being this wide out on the weeklies and far above our time frames here, expect the volatility to continue. So with that, guys, been great. Much appreciated your support here. Please give me some love on the thumbs up, and we will catch you guys through the week here. Remember to follow me on Twitter, follow me on YouTube, check me out on Bitcoin Live, check me out on Starbucks when you're in line next time. Until then, it's Big C. You guys are great. Let's find a good song to end on here. No, let's find this one here. That's not bad. Peace out.